When we look at the world today, one of the deepest wounds on humanity is the story of Palestine. It is not just a story of borders or politics, but a story of families who have lived generation after generation under the shadow of fear, war, and loss. To understand why Israel stands in conflict with so many Muslim countries, and why the people of Gaza have faced destruction time and time again, we need to go back to the roots of this history. It is a painful journey, but one that must be told. In 1948, the State of Israel was born, but for Palestinians, that moment is remembered as the Nakba, which means the catastrophe. Overnight, hundreds of thousands of Palestinians were driven from their homes, their villages destroyed, their lands seized. For the Jewish people, after centuries of persecution and the horrors of the Holocaust, Israel was seen as a homeland, a safe refuge. But for the Palestinians who lived there, it was the beginning of an endless exile. Families that once lived side by side in peace were torn apart. And from that moment, the conflict was never just between Israel and Palestine, but between Israel and the broader Muslim world that felt the pain of the Palestinians as their own. Pakistan, though far away in South Asia, was one of the strongest voices that rejected the recognition of Israel. The founders of Pakistan saw the creation of Israel as an injustice done to Muslims, a colonial project backed by Western powers that displaced a native population. For Pakistan, standing with Palestine was not just about religion, but about justice, about refusing to accept a world order where powerful nations could redraw maps and erase communities. Since then, Pakistan has never recognized Israel as a state. It is one of the very few countries in the world that remains firm on this position. But to understand the hostility, we must ask, why does Israel continue to attack Gaza? Why is Palestine always burning? Israel argues that it is fighting for its security, that it is targeting groups like Hamas who launch rockets into Israeli territory. But the reality on the ground tells another story. Gaza is one of the most densely populated places on Earth. 2 million people live in a tiny strip of land, blockaded from the sea, fenced from the land, controlled from the sky. When bombs fall on Gaza, they do not fall on empty fields, they fall on neighborhoods, on schools, on hospitals, on homes where families are sleeping. Again and again, the world sees the images of destroyed buildings, of children being pulled from the rubble, of mothers weeping over lifeless bodies. And people ask, where is the humanity? For Israel, the goal is always described as security. But when you look at the scale of destruction, you see a strategy that goes beyond defense. Gaza is not just attacked to neutralize rockets. It is attacked to break the spirit of a people, to make life so unbearable that resistance itself feels impossible. This is why Palestinians describe their struggle not just as a war, but as survival. Every attack on Gaza is an attempt to erase a dream, the dream of a free Palestine. Muslim countries have long stood emotionally with Palestine. But when we look at the political map, we see something different. Countries like Saudi Arabia, which once championed the Palestinian cause, have in recent years grown closer to Israel. The reason is not love, but interest. In the complex chessboard of Middle Eastern politics, Israel and Saudi Arabia now see a common enemy, Iran. And in this geopolitical game, Palestine becomes a forgotten pawn. For leaders, alliances are shaped by oil, by trade, by military deals. For the people, however, the wound of Palestine never heals. In the streets of Karachi, Cairo, Istanbul, Jakarta, the voice of the common man is the same. Palestine must be free. Ayatollah, once a supporter of the Palestinian cause, now stands openly with Israel. This shift comes from a mix of political ideology and shared interests. The Indian government, under nationalist leadership, sees Israel as a model state that defines itself by religion, a state that uses force to control territory, a state that sells advanced weapons and technology. For India, aligning with Israel also means strengthening ties with the United States. And in the rivalry with Pakistan, India sees an advantage in befriending Israel. So the question arises, why do these Countries, powerful nations like India, influential ones like Saudi Arabia support Israel and not Pakistan. The answer lies in power politics. Israel is backed by the United States, the world's superpower. It has advanced technology, intelligence networks, and influence over global media. Standing with Israel means gaining access to these advantages. Pakistan, though a nuclear power, has struggled economically, politically, and diplomatically. For many nations, supporting Pakistan brings no benefit, but supporting Israel brings rewards. In this way, justice and humanity are traded for interest and survival in the game of nations. But beyond politics, there is a deeper human question. Why does the suffering of Palestinians not move the world enough to act? Why are the rules of humanity rules that forbid killing children, bombing hospitals, starving entire populations ignored when it comes to Gaza? Some say it is because Palestinians are Muslims, and in a world where Islamophobia is rising, their lives are valued less. Some say it is because Israel has powerful allies who can veto every resolution in the United Nations. And some say it is because the world has grown numb, too used to seeing Palestinian suffering as a normal part of the news. Yet, when you look into the eyes of a Palestinian child, you see the truth that no politics can erase. These are not terrorists, not enemies, not numbers on a screen. They are children who dream of playing football, who draw pictures of birds and trees, who want to live in peace like every other child in the world. When bombs fall on their homes, the question is not about politics, it is about humanity. How can we call ourselves civilized when we allow this to continue? Israel claims it wants peace, but the peace it envisions is not one of justice, but one of control. A peace where Palestinians accept second-class status, where their land is carved into pieces, where their future is limited to checkpoints and walls. This is why negotiations always fail. Because for Palestinians, peace without freedom is not peace at all. Pakistan's voice, though often ignored by the world, remains firm. Its leaders, its people, its culture continue to speak for Palestine. Pakistan has offered education to Palestinian students, aid to Gaza, and a platform to raise awareness. Though it may not have the power to change the policies of the United States or Israel, it has the moral strength of standing with the oppressed. In the hearts of Pakistanis, the story of Palestine is a mirror of their own struggles, a reminder that injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. When you step back and look at the bigger picture, you see that this conflict is not just about territory. It is about identity, about faith, about the clash between oppression and resistance. Israel may have weapons, planes, and global support, but Palestinians have something that cannot be destroyed: the will to exist, to return, to live on their land. Every child born in a refugee camp, every olive tree planted on a hill in the West Bank, every kite flown in Gaza is an act of defiance, a message to the world that they will not disappear. And this is perhaps what Israel fears most. Not rockets, not armies, but the resilience of a people who refuse to die out. By attacking Gaza, by trying to crush the spirit of Palestinians, Israel seeks not just security but supremacy, a future where no one questions its control. Yet history shows that no people can be erased forever. The Palestinians remain, their voices carried by millions of Muslims and non-Muslims alike, who see their struggle as the struggle of all humanity. The question of humanity is central. If we allow the destruction of Gaza to continue without outrage, then what does humanity even mean? If the rules of justice are bent for the powerful, then what hope is left for the weak? Every bomb dropped on Gaza is not just a tragedy for Palestinians, it is a wound on the conscience of the entire world. And yet, nations continue to make excuses, to justify, to look away. India, Saudi Arabia, the Western powers, they all know what is happening, but they calculate their interests and remain silent.